Alain Badiou, born the 17th of January 1937, is a French philosopher, formerly chair of philosophy at the École Normale Supérieure and founder of the Faculty of Philosophy of the Université de Paris VIII with Gilles Deleuze, Michel Foucault and Jean-François Lyotard.Badiou has written about the concepts of being, truth and the subject in a way that, he claims, is neither postmodern nor simply a repetition of modernity. Politically, Badiou is committed to the far left and to the communist tradition. Biography: Badiou was a student at the Lycée Louis-le-Grand and then the École Normale Supérieure. He taught at the Lycée in Reims from 1963, where he became a close friend of fellow playwright François Regnault, and published a couple of novels before moving to the University of Paris VIII in 1969. Badiou was politically active very early on, and was one of the founding members of the Unified Socialist Party. The PSU was particularly active in the struggle for the decolonization of Algeria. He wrote his first novel, Almagestis, in 1964. In 1967 he joined a study group organized by Louis Althusser, became increasingly influenced by Jacques Lacan and became a member of the editorial board of Cahiers pour l'analyse. By then he already had a solid grounding in mathematics and logic, and his own two contributions to the pages of Cahiers anticipate many of the distinctive concerns of his later philosophy. The student uprisings of May 1968 reinforced Badiou's commitment to the far left, and he participated in increasingly militant groups, such as the Union des Communistes de France Marxiste-Leniniste. To quote Badiou himself, the UCFML is the Maoist organization established in late 1969 by Natasha Michel, Sylvain Lazarus, myself and a fair number of young people. During this time, Badiou joined the faculty of the newly founded University of Paris VIII, Vincennes Saint-Denis, which was a bastion of countercultural thought. There he engaged in fierce intellectual debates with fellow professors Gilles Deleuze and Jean-François Lyotard, whose philosophical works he considered unhealthy deviations from the Althusserian program of a scientific Marxism. In the 1980s, as both Althusserian Marxism and Lacanian psychoanalysis went into decline, Badiou published more technical and abstract philosophical works, such as Théorie du sujet, and his magnum opus, Being an Event. Nonetheless, Badiou has never renounced Althusser or Lacan, and sympathetic references to Marxism and psychoanalysis are not uncommon in his more recent works. He took up his current position at the ENS in 1999. He is also associated with a number of other institutions, such as the Collège International de Philosophie. He was a member of l'Organisation Politique, which, as mentioned above, he founded in 1985 with some comrades from the Maoist UCFML. This organization disbanded in 2007, according to the French Wikipedia article. In 2002, he was a co-founder of the Centre International d'études de la Philosophie Française Contemporaine, alongside Yves Dureau and his former student Quentin Meillassoux. Badiou has also enjoyed success as a dramatist with plays such as Ahmed Le Subtil. In the last decade, an increasing number of Badiou's works have been translated into English, such as Ethics, Deleuze, Manifesto for Philosophy, Metapolitics, and Being an Event. Short pieces by Badiou have likewise appeared in American and English periodicals, such as Lacanian Inc., New Left Review, Radical Philosophy, Cosmos in History and Parisia. Unusually for a contemporary European philosopher, his work is increasingly being taken up by militants in countries like India, the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Africa. Recently Badiou got into a fierce controversy within the confines of Parisian intellectual life. It started in 2005 with the publication of his Circonstances 3. Portes du mot juif, the uses of the word Jew. This book generated a strong response with calls of Badiou being labeled anti-Semitic. The wrangling became a cause célèbre, with articles going back and forth in the French newspaper Le Monde and in the cultural journal Les Temps. Modernist, linguist and Lacanian philosopher Jean-Claude Milner, a past president of Jacques Derrida's Collège International de Philosophie, has accused Badiou of anti-Semitism. In 2014-15, Badiou had the role of honorary president at the Global Center for Advanced Studies. Key concepts. Badiou makes repeated use of several concepts throughout his philosophy. One of the aims of his thought is to show that his categories of truth are useful for any type of philosophical critique. Therefore, he uses them to interrogate art and history as well as ontology and scientific discovery. Johannes Thumfart argues that Badiou's philosophy can be regarded as a contemporary reinterpretation of Platonism. Conditions. According to Badiou, philosophy is suspended from four conditions, each of them fully independent truth procedures. Badiou consistently maintains throughout his work that philosophy must avoid the temptation to suture itself to any of these independent truth procedures. When philosophy does suture itself to one of its conditions, what results is a philosophical disaster. Consequently, philosophy is, according to Badiou, a thinking of the compossibility of the several truth procedures. Whether this is undertaken through the investigation of the intersections between distinct truth procedures, or whether this is undertaken through the more traditionally philosophical work of addressing categories like truth or the subject. For Badiou, when philosophy addresses the four truth procedures in a genuinely philosophical manner, rather than through a suturing abandonment of philosophy as such, it speaks of them with a theoretical terminology that marks its philosophical character. In aesthetics, rather than art, metapolitics rather than politics, ontology rather than science, etc. Truth, for Badiou, is a specifically philosophical category, while philosophy's several conditions are, on their own terms, truth procedures. It is only philosophy that can speak of the several truth procedures as truth procedures. Badiou has a very rigorous notion of truth, one that is strongly against the grain of much of contemporary European thought. Badiou at once embraces the traditional modernist notion that truths are genuinely invariant and the incisively postmodernist notion that truths are constructed through processes. Badiou's theory of truth, exposited throughout his work, accomplishes this strange mixture by uncoupling invariance from self-evidence, as well as by uncoupling constructedness from relativity. The idea, here, is that a truth's invariance makes it genuinely indiscernible. Because a truth is everywhere and always the case, it passes unnoticed unless there is a rupture in the laws of being and appearance, during which the truth in question becomes, but only for a passing moment, discernible. Such a rupture is what Badiou calls an event. According to a theory originally worked out in being an event and fleshed out in important ways in Logics of Worlds, the individual who chances to witness such an event, if he is faithful to what he has glimpsed, can then introduce the truth by naming it into worldly situations, according to a process or procedure that subsequently unfolds only if those who subject themselves to the glimpsed truth continue to be faithful in the work of announcing the truth in question. Genuine knowledge is produced. While such knowledge is produced in the process of being faithful to a truth event, it should be noted that, for Badiou, knowledge, in the figure of the encyclopedia, always remains fragile, subject to what may yet be produced as faithful subjects of the event produce further knowledge. According to Badiou, truth procedures proceed to infinity, such that faith outstrips knowledge. The dominating ideology of the day, which Badiou terms democratic materialism, denies the existence of truth and only recognizes bodies and languages. Badiou proposes a turn towards the materialist dialectic, which recognizes that there are only bodies and languages, accepts there are also truths, In Aesthetic and Handbook of Aesthetics, Badiou both draws on the original Greek meaning and the later Kantian concept of aesthesis as material perception, and coins the phrase in aesthetic to refer to a concept of artistic creation that denies the reflection-object relation, yet at the same time, in reaction against the bourgeois idea of mimesis, or poetic reflection of nature, he affirms that art is immanent and singular. Art is immanent in the sense that its truth is given in its immediacy in a given work of art, and singular in that its truth is found in art and art alone, hence reviving the ancient materialist concept of aesthesis. His view of the link between philosophy and art is tied into the motif of pedagogy, which he claims functions so as to arrange the forms of knowledge in a way that some truth may come to pierce a hole in them. He develops these ideas with examples from the prose of Samuel Beckett and the poetry of Stéphane Mallarmé and Fernando Pessoa, among others.